Okay. So a very warm good afternoon, good morning, good evening. I know there are persons from different parts of the world over here in the webinar, and welcome to this webinar on information on the postgraduate diploma in international trade and maritime law, and the LLM top-up, which is being conducted by Solent University. So in this webinar, we have Susan. Susan is the course coordinator or the course director, in fact. We've got Ian, who is a faculty and contributor to the course. Also, we have alums. Captain Thomas is there, Paul is there, and Martina. Captain Thomas is, he has already done the postgraduate diploma and he is doing the LLM top-up. Martina and Paul are in the PGD course right now. So thanks everyone for joining this webinar. Pratik, if we can go to the next slide, please. Okay, right. So a quick one on why we are doing the webinar. So a lot of times we know about a certain course or a certain value addition from a friend of a friend. And this information is sometimes not available firsthand to many of us, especially not directly from the alums or the university at the same place. So what CN Beyond is trying to do is, CN Beyond is trying to enhance your awareness from the most credible sources so that you can evaluate the relevance for yourself in particular, and so that you could take a well-informed decision. So that's the reason why we are doing this webinar. In terms of some do's and don'ts, you may submit the questions after each slide on the chat window, but try and not, speak up after the slide. You will be given a chance later on. That's number one. Number two, try and keep it a little bit generic, the questions if possible. For one-to-one, for very, very, very specific questions, we can connect one-to-one after the webinar as well. Number three, please rename yourselves to your real name. So it's very easy. Just in front of your name, there will be a tab, right click, and there'll be an option to rename yourself. Kindly rename yourselves. And the slides will be shared to you over the email once the webinar is done, along with the recording as well. Yeah. We move to the next slide, please, Pratik. All right. So quickly introducing you to Susan, and Susan is the director of this course. Susan has enough and more experience in maritime law and in various aspects. She was the course leader for a similar course in WMU as well. She has an LLM in the International Commercial Law from London School of Economics. Is a qualified, but she's not practicing a barrister. She's a course leader for BSc in Shipping, Trade and Transport in HST Academy, Hamburg, and also visiting professor at various other universities as well. To the next slide, please, Pratik. Yeah, we've got Captain Thomas, and as mentioned before as well, he's of course a master mariner and who's working ashore as marine superintendent. He's done the first course, he's done the postgraduate diploma, and he's currently doing the dissertation. He's doing the LLM top-up. He's working for Chelaram Shipping in Hong Kong. He's mostly sailed on bulk carriers. Martina is a legal counsel, and she's a current student of the postgraduate diploma course. more from her when she kind of speaks about the course. And Paul again is a current student for the course. Ian McLean, he's a master himself. He has about 37 years of experience, and he's a course contributor. He's a faculty of the course and a partner with Hill Dickinson. So a very warm welcome to all of you, to all the presenters. And if I can take a poll at this point of time in terms of audience, right? As an audience, what is your rank or what is your position? So are you still sailing? And if sailing, at what level? Or if you are settled ashore, and if you've settled ashore, you have a sailing background, or maybe you don't have a sailing background. So whatever is it, if you could have a quick response from you on the poll question, which is there on in front of your screen, please. And after this, I'll hand over the platform to Martina, who will probably just tell a little bit more about herself and the reason for her to choose such a course, and how is her experience during the course as well. May I have a few more answers to the poll, please? I've got about 73% of the participants who have responded on the poll. At least 80%, maybe a couple of more participants. Okay. So I'm ending the poll and sharing the results. So most of the audience has a sailing background. In fact, all have a sailing background, and 90% of the audience is at a top 4 or who have settled ashore after sailing. That constitutes about 90%. And 10% of the persons in the audience are at an operations level sailing. So that's the audience mix for all of us to know. And over to you, Martina, now.
Hi, everyone. My name is Martina. I'm a legal counsel and I work for the claim department of Mediterranean Shipping Company in the headquarters of Geneva. I have a legal background. I graduated in law in Italy, and I started my career as a civil lawyer in Italy. Then I moved to the shipping business. I currently work in the claim department, so I basically deal with cargo, dry cargo claim for the Asia and Middle East, and non-cargo claims. So I deal with FFO, stevedore injury, pollution cases, etc. I joined this course because I was looking desperately for a course to deepen my knowledge of English law, because as you know, English law is fundamental in our business. And it often happens that during my work, I have to appoint an English lawyer, because me as a legal counsel, if a case ends up in court, I have to appoint an external lawyer to deal with the case in court. And when I have to appoint a lawyer, I was used to receive their advice, and I basically didn't understand what they were talking about, because as per my legal background in civil law, the civil law approach is so different from the common law approach. So I was receiving their advice, and I was trusting them blindly. So they were going ahead. I was trusting them, but I like to understand what I read. So I looked for a course to deepen my knowledge of English law. And after a deep research, I found this course. I contacted Susan, and she explained me a bit about the program. And in the end, I decided to join the course. I have to say, the course obviously is challenging, especially for I have a full-time job, so it's challenging. But since the very beginning, I understood a lot of things, a lot of information that immediately I started to apply in my job. So it's amazing because, for example, you see, you can apply in real cases what you learn during the course, and it helped me because I use some tips from Susan to reply to some clients in some cases, and to date I can say that it was a good choice to join this course. Also, it helped me to send, let's say, also to the client, and also in my communication with the lawyer, to send messages short and focused on the point, because my shock with this course was obviously with the coursework, because in Italy, I graduated in law in Italy, but most of the exams are oral exam. So when I saw the first coursework, for me it was something completely different from my previous exam, and the word limit was like a cultural shock for me. But in the end, working on it, in the end, it helped a lot, because now I'm applying this method also in my reply to the clients and to the lawyer, and in the end you find the solution of your problem in super fast. So my advice is, if you want to do it, because it will help. And
I guess Martina, there might be some issue with her internet or so, because at least I can't hear her. I'm assuming it's the same case with most of us.
Yeah, can't.
All right. So maybe at this stage, Paul, if we can have you come in, if you can, throw some light on, your experience and why did you take this course?
Yes, of course. Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. I'm Paul Leopold, also a current student in the same cohort as Martina is, and I am coming from. Well, she may be coming back. No, I can't. Someone else was. I've got over 4.5 years work experience in the shipping industry ashore. So I did my apprenticeship here in Hamburg at a shipping owner, and thereafter I continued working for them in their container chartering joint venture. And I think Martina is coming back. Maybe we are switching back to her, because I think she's got an appointment, and thereafter I will continue with my part.
Yeah, no, I think we could possibly have some. She was going to end only, but let's hear from her.
Yes.
sorry, I'm back. Zoom freezed at some point. Sorry, I had to log in again.
No problem. It's good to have you back, Martina. So yeah, you were saying something, Martina. You may want to.
I just wanted to finish, and my advice is if you want to do it, because it will help, especially work-wise, because also my manager found it different, and she's using me to solve some issue, because obviously if we can save on lawyer fees, on legal fees, it's what we have to do. So it happened in some cases that I managed to settle some claims and to solve some cases without involving the lawyer. So we avoided that the cases ended up in court because we provided the client the explanation they were looking for. So in the end, we settled the case without going to court, and this is what our management loves so much, because if we can save money and if we can do it by ourselves, it's super. So for me, it has been very, very helpful, and I'm glad I joined the course. So thanks, and thanks, Susan.
Thank you, Martina. Thank you very much. Lovely.
And then I would just continue. So unlike Martina, as I just highlighted, I don't have a legal background. I have a commercial shipping background, working in shore. And I also did my BSc not in a particular law-related course or focus. I did the shipping trade and transport BSc, which is also run by Susan in Hamburg, and which then switched without any issues, despite the COVID pandemic, to online modules and webinars. And during my work experience and also during the bachelor, I became more and more fascinated by maritime law and how significant it is for working in the office at a shipping company, or also in chartering, working for a ship owner, particularly speaking about handling claims, handling issues with charterers in this instance, or also dealing with charter parties. So I decided to continue another course with Susan and join the PGD on rather spontaneous notice, let's say. And during the course, I similar to Martina, I felt more and more confident dealing with issues, dealing and seeing also things from a legal point of view, and not only from a commercial point of view, which definitely helped me a lot. And also decided to continue this journey. And along the modules, basically, I more and more got the hang out of it. And similar to Martina, I can also confirm that law-related coursework are definitely different. And for example, my Bachelor of Science courseworks, they are challenging and it can be difficult at times. But what I can also say is Susan is supportive wherever she can, whether it's speaking on a one-to-one basis, or also in case there are any questions, she's always there to help. And I'm convinced as long as you put in the effort, you can make it, and that it's very, very intellectually rewarding. So after every coursework, after every module, you really get some useful hands-on experience and new perspectives, which will definitely help you when dealing with issues on a daily basis and on an exceptional basis while working in shipping. And then it is once again confirmed that as well as shipping, of course, the course is bringing you together with like-minded fellow students all over the world. I've got fellow classmates from India, from the United Kingdom, me myself from Germany, and Martina from Switzerland, with all having different backgrounds, either if it was working as a master mariner or later on then ashore. It brings together people. And when it comes to the advice, I totally follow Martina's advice. I can definitely recommend it to you. Either it is that you're now still working on a vessel, or if you're working ashore, it would definitely help you see things with a new perspective, with the law perspective, which we all can agree on is crucial, especially in our business. And it makes me personally well prepared for what's ever coming next. And as you can see with Captain Thomas, and then there's also the top-up LLM possibility, which he will I'm sure tell you more about. And in case there are no questions, that would be it from my side.
Thanks
And
for yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you, Paul. Brilliant. Thank you. Brilliant.
Right. So we've got a perspective from a person who's from a law background doing this course, from a commercial shipping background who's doing this course, and let's hear it from Ian, who's been a master mariner and who is a faculty as well. Then we'll start the presentation about the course, and we'll hear from Captain Thomas at the end of the presentation.
Okay, so good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everybody. I'm speaking from Singapore today, where I'm based and where I work for Hill Dickinson, a shipping law firm. I come from an interesting perspective because not only have I contributed by writing one of the modules, I'm also a former student of Susan's. In another life, she taught an LLM, which I was one of her students on that LLM part-time. It took me 5 years. It should have taken 2, but they were busy times. I'd just like to reinforce what's just been said. We've had Martina, who is in the claims and legal function, and we've had Paul, who's in the commercial function. And a question I suspect a lot of you are asking yourselves is, well, does a postgraduate diploma that focuses on the legal side of shipping, is that going to be useful to me if I'm actually not going to be doing law? And I think the answer is very much yes. And obviously Paul has underlined that slightly. But I think the point is that if you're coming ashore, you're moving into a highly competitive market. There's tremendous opportunity for ex-seafarers ashore, whether it be broking, in chartering, surveying, an expert witness, superintendency, ship management. There's a large number of areas, but one common theme that runs through all the areas that you'll work in is you will come into contact with disputes and you'll come into contact with contractual writing. And any background that you can have on top of that, that shows a knowledge will give you a competitive advantage, A, when it comes to actually the interview stage, because you can demonstrate to a future employer that you are genuinely keen in this subject. And 2, it will assist you in your day-to-day work because you will be coming into contact with legal principles throughout your career working ashore. And also another thing that Martina raised, and I think that's very, very important, is that as an ex-seafarer myself, I was at sea for 12 years, master mariner, came ashore. I worked for 6 years for a ship management company, in those days called Hanseatic, now probably better known as Bernard Schulter. My skills in written communication weren't that great. And one of the things that, as Martina said, that this course will really help you develop is the ability to condense down your thoughts, to articulate arguments and be able to communicate well in written work. And no matter where you are in the shipping industry, the way in which you can succeed and the way in which you get your message over to other people is with the power of your own written word. And I think there's no topic better than law to actually focus and distill to provide accurate, compelling, and persuasive narratives to pass on to other people. So irrespective of the area of law you're looking for, sorry, the area of post-seafaring work that you're looking for, I think this is a diploma that's really, really going to help you. So why did I get involved? At the time that Susan approached me, there was no qualification like this that actually dealt with the module that I've written, which is the managing maritime accidents and investigating maritime accidents. So many courses will teach you about contracts, they will teach you about insurance, etc. But this is a course that actually focuses on the practicalities that you will come into contact with on your day-to-day work. So within my module, we look at the first notification of a casualty. And as you'll understand, you could be a superintendent, you could be working in chartering, you could be working for a P&I club, you could be doing any host of jobs where you're the first person to find out about a casualty. And what we've striven to do is to try to explain to you what it is you need to do, but more importantly, why it is you need to do it. Because the steps and the actions that you take in the first few hours of a casualty can have a huge impact on whether you can negotiate a good settlement in 3 or 4 years' time, whether you have to go to court, things such as simple things as creation of documents. Some of those documents you will have to hand over to your opponents at some stage. Knowing which documents you can keep safely to yourself and the documents you're creating that you may have to hand over to an opponent, again, it's relevant to you no matter what function you're in within that chain that's managing that maritime casualty. So within that module, we look at the dealing with the opponents, how we manage the evidence, how we manage experts, going on board the ship, collecting the evidence, going on board the ship, interviewing the crew. What is it that you need to get out of the crew? How do we prepare to settle? Because trust me, if you can, you really always want to settle a case rather than going to court. And of course, if you can, you want to handle it yourself rather than passing it on to lawyers. I think Martina made that point fairly well. And then dealing with authorities. And of course, Martina mentioned the difference between the civil code and common law jurisdiction approach to dealing with disputes. And again, that's something that we touch on. And one of the things we do within the module is we say, okay, you've got a casualty that's happened in a country you've never been to. Let's say it's Chile in South America. You need to understand how the law works there on certain points. So we have provided checklists for you, checklists of questions to ask your correspondent lawyer in Chile. What is it that you need to know so you can start to make those strategic decisions that will help you to develop and manage that case and bring it to a successful conclusion. So that's really an overview of what I wanted to speak about. What I can say, and I without sounding too sycophantic, I found Susan to be an immensely interesting lecturer. She has a vast breadth of knowledge on the subjects, and critically, she makes the topics enjoyable. And to the extent that it's possible for myself as a module contributor to jump in on a couple of webinars with you, that's something I will do. That clearly is, we can't make a promise on that. I don't know when I'm traveling for casualties. I don't know when I'm available, but if I am around, then if you come on this course, then you will see me again, I hope. Okay, and back to you.
Hey, thank you so much, Ian, for for that perspective. And then you put it very well on where persons with a sailing background could essentially use the maritime law, and you yourself have essentially transitioned from a sailing to a non-maritime kind of a shore stint, followed by a maritime by a more legal kind of a view. So coming from you, it really brings a lot of perspective, brings a lot of guidance to the persons who are attending this webinar. So thanks, Ian, for that.
Yes, thank you. Actually, my internet froze. I had the Martina problem. My internet froze just as Ian was saying how he found being a student with me, how he found being on the course. I don't know whether that was a sign from God. But anyway, I can only hope that at least most of it was positive. But as I came in at the bit where he said he would jump into seminars if he was around, I can only think it's semi-positive at least. So thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Yeah. Pradeep, can you share the presentation now? All right, Pradeep, if you can go on the presentation mode, and over to you, Susan.
Thank you. Thank you. Can everyone hear me? Yes?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
That's
Yes, we can hear you.
great. Okay, well, if well, this is the sort of Solent University slide. So if we could, I think we've got a poll now, haven't we?
Yes, a quick poll on have the participants heard about Solent University, and accordingly we may have our narrative on the next or on the first few slides before we move on to the course content slides. Many of you might have heard of Warsash, if not of Solent.
Which of course used to be a freestanding school, and then
So I guess it's about 50-50. Half of the participants have not. Majority being who have heard of about Solent. So we move on to the next slide, Pratik.
Okay, well, I'm just going to say a few bits about Warsash and Solent University. Normally, my head of school is here, and he's been with the university a lot longer. And of course, as head than I, and as head of school, he has much more background knowledge. So I'm going to rather whiz over these, but really, just to say that the university has been around for a long time. It has a fair number of students. It prides itself on diversity. It is a very, very engaging and eclectic community. I know that from having been down. And the university handled the moving into COVID very, very well. And I flagged this up, even though most of us are sort of moving away from that now, because a lot of teaching goes on still online, such as my distance learning course, that was always going to be online. And an institution that can handle moving into online, which for most people was totally new, as well, and in such a supportive manner as Solent did, I think is an institution to look at. And I have to say, this is coming up for my third year with Warsash, and of course with the university. And I think it's the first organization for which I've ever worked where I can say, truthfully and hand on heart, everybody is super nice and super helpful. And I've struggled enormously to start with, or I did struggle enormously to start with the online system, which is excellent but difficult for me because mentally and age-wise, I'm not confident with technology, and they are super helpful. There's an online help desk, super helpful, super nice, everybody to the last man and woman standing. And if I were a student, I would certainly be looking and thinking about Solent University. And it's a nice culture for staff, and I think that's important. Everybody I speak to likes working there. And I think that an organization that deals with its staff properly is an organization that gets a big tick. So that's just a sort of a bit of background. Next slide, please. And I think all of this is absolutely true. Solent is dedicated to a sort of a hand-in-hand approach of providing good academic, intellectually rigorous education with going hand in hand, and they call it their real world experience, preparing students to take what they learn and use it and rely on it and build on it, perhaps with something else in their working lives. And the university does. I mean, certainly certainly Warsash Maritime Academy very much looks on what are you going to need when you go into your next job, or even for undergrad, a lot of undergraduates, your first job. And it is creative, and it is very, very inclusive and student-centered, very much so. I've been very happy to have my course there, which is quite a separate thing from being happy to be working for the university. I like having my course there very much. I feel confident about what my students are going to experience when I go out into the world and promote the course. Next slide, please. And last year, as we came up to the new academic last year, there was a sort of a reshuffle around in the university. This is quite typical of universities. And actually, the Vice-Chancellor has recently announced she's going to take early retirement, and we may have another reshuffle. And I'm not sure that that is terribly important to the experience students get, but these at the moment are the faculties and the one school. So Warsash Maritime School is a standalone school, as it always has been. And then there are 3 faculties, creative industries, business law and digital technologies, and then sport, health and social sciences. Next slide, please. And Warsash Maritime School, and it is actually, as far as I know, it is the only higher education institution. It does provide a full service portfolio, and it's almost like from, you know, when you first leave school, you can go all the way through. They do an excellent deck cadet training course, which some people take at a fairly young age, and a lot of people now go into it with a graduate background, and then they do a series of degree programs and senior certificates of competency, etc., etc. And then, of course, postgraduate qualification. So there is the whole range, and it sort of knits together, as far as I can see, from talking to people and having been there. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. It knits together very well. And everybody involved with Warsash has some sort of experience, if not extensive experience, of being at sea, sailing, and it really gives a brushstroke of a better experience for students. So it's great. You could sum it up like that. It's great. Next slide, please. And the international profile, well, I think one would expect that. The university has relationships with institutions in other countries, so Hong Kong, Singapore, Sri Lanka, Greece, and one would expect that, and certainly Solent is holding its own in that respect. Next slide, please. I'm on safer grounds now, talking about my own course. This is, and I always say this, this is the Spark building, known as the Spark building. It's fairly new. It is totally state of the art. It is absolutely fabulous. And the pod in the middle, it has lecture theatres and a deck at the top where in hopefully now more social times people can have drink stews and social occasions related to their courses, and I certainly hope to have a drink stew there. And it's called Spark Building to give a spark of inspiration, and I'm not sure if it totally comes across on the slide, but it certainly does do that. And they have a lot of fashion students, and you can just see this here. They've always got models displaying fashion outfits, etc., that students have been engaged with. It's very happening. It really is. And there's sort of just here, there's a huge cafe area, and it's dynamic, and there's breakaway rooms and places to sit. It's great. It's great. And I love just showing that. Okay, that's the Spark building. So next slide, please. Okay, these are the basics of the course. I'm not going to read them word for word, because you will all be able to share the slides, and hopefully everybody can read. The course starts in October. We have a welcome week first. It's normal university policy to have induction welcome week, and we've embraced that on the course. And I do a couple of webinars and ask people how they are, and we talk about general issues arising in the study of law. And then we start with module 1 at the beginning of October. It is a full 12-month period. So we start at the end of October, say this year, October 2022, and students will sit the final exam or submit the final assessment, which is an exam, at the end of October 2023. And as Martina says, and Paul has said, it's hard going. It's like a juggernaut, and I think anybody who does a demanding course whilst they're working full time, if you've done this before, you will know this. Paul certainly did, because he did the BSc in Hamburg with me, which I run and on which I teach the law module, and it is like a juggernaut. Once you get on, it never stops until the end. And I do very much, both in the classroom situation and online. And I think all students, Martina, Paul and Captain Thomas will confirm that I am very, very community minded. I'm very social minded. And certainly I know Ian will confirm that, and I create a little community because you need that. Students on the course need to be mutually supportive of each other, and we always have a group WhatsApp. And I say to students, you must have a group WhatsApp, and you can always contact me by WhatsApp. I encourage the PGD students to have a group WhatsApp without including me, so that they can talk about what they want. If they want to negotiate anything with me, then they can do that without me being involved. I am included in the Hamburg WhatsApp because students can simply start speaking in German, and then I haven't got a clue what they're saying. So that all seems to work quite well. It is hard going, but I think, as Paul said, it is intellectually very rewarding. It's distance learning. We do have webinars, but it is all online. There are 5 courseworks and 1 final exam. 4 courseworks and the exam count towards the final diploma award. So each coursework carries 50% of the marks for that module, and each part of the exam covers one of the assessed modules and also counts for 50% of the marks. The first module, which is a general introduction to English law, has a full, proper, demanding coursework, but the mark doesn't count towards the final degree. It's like a free try. And the exam does not have a part on the first coursework, on the first module. But as I will say a bit later on, you have to understand the basics of English law to be able to move on. So what you learn in that module, you will carry with you basically forever. The course fees, I see on the website, are 7,995, which is the same as last year, which surprises me, but that's what it seems to be. Now, one of the things I thought I would just touch on, because it comes up and people LinkedIn message me to ask, what is the difference between a postgraduate diploma and the full degree? The full degree in law is the LLM. So one either has a postgraduate diploma or the full degree, which could be an LLM or an MBA, or which Ian has, or an MSc. The difference, in sort of long story short, between a postgraduate diploma and an LLM, well, I would think any postgraduate degree, is the dissertation. The diploma does not require students, it does not incorporate a provision for a dissertation. So students do the coursework, they do the final exam, and then if they are successful, they get the diploma. The difference between a postgraduate diploma in law and an LLM is that a postgraduate diploma in law will be a much more accessible program of studies for students coming from, in our industry, say, shipping background, than a full LLM would be, because a full LLM will not have a devoted beginning to underlying general law issues. A full LLM would presume you'd got an underlying law degree or some underlying law. We do not presume that on the diploma. And so we have this first module, which is Introduction to English Common Law, which everybody has to do. So Martina did it, and she is a lawyer, but she hadn't an understanding of how English law works. And obviously people haven't done any law before, won't have that. And you come along and you do that, which is sort of like the very basics of contract law, the very basics of the English legal system, and the very basics of a big area of law called tort, which is the French for a wrong, which is outside of contract. And it's not a degree program in itself, obviously, but it gives you the basics and it flags up an awareness. And so when you've come through that module, you understand the walk, the talk of how English lawyers operate. And at that point, we can go on to the first topic specific for the program. And I've taught on LLM courses. As Ian said, I was teaching on an LLM course that he studied. We don't do that. And the introductory module is a full module experience. So it's not just a few lectures in the welcome week. It's a formative assessment requirement and a full coursework requirement. And it is immensely useful. The PGD, a postgraduate diploma, and I think this comment again goes back to the difference between any postgraduate diploma and any master's, is that there will be students who would like further specialized education, but don't want to do the whole degree. They don't want to do a dissertation because they might have an MBA or an MSc and they don't want to do another dissertation. So a postgraduate diploma is very attractive for them. And that is really a critical issue. And what skills do we develop? Well, it's really how the law works. And as the two students have said, the ability to focus and develop persuasive argument. And as Ian has pointed out, and Martina has said, if you can keep out of court, that is beneficial to everybody. And being able to focus quickly on the crux, the core of a point, and being able to develop persuasive argument is a skill that will save you for life and carry you well in negotiations. And we also develop particularly through Ian's module, the situational judgment skill. How do you make a judgment today in the circumstances you've got? And the same question may arise on a different day with slightly different circumstances. And that is what, in modern terms, is called situational judgment. Next slide, please. And yes, Graf, I know I've sort of spent a bit of time here, but I'll catch up. Right. So now we have a poll. So before I go on, I think we do the poll.
Sure. Thanks for that perspective on the previous slide, Susan. Important thing which you mentioned was about situational judgment.
Yes, today it's you know what is called the buzzword, and I hesitate to focus on a buzzword because in actual fact it's always been important and it's always been a core element of any of my teaching with maritime trade law.
All right, so just getting the poll answers. Got about 70% of the people who have answered. Let me end the poll with whatever where we are and share the results. So the main purpose for most of the people to do the course is, of course, career advancement. That's needless to say. And yeah, most of the persons do feel English law is relevant, but the percentage is coming down from our previous webinar. It's about 70% now. And yeah, over to you, Susan, and 10 minutes, about 10 minutes remaining for in terms of time.
Okay. So here we have an outline of the modules and an introduction to English law. And you might say, well, why English law? And the answer to that, and you've heard it actually before I said it, Martina is an Italian lawyer, but she's working in shipping, and English law is, you know, the law of shipping. And there are lots of reasons for that, and some of them may be good and some of them may be purely historic, but the reality is you need English law in shipping. And as Ian has said, you certainly need, it certainly helps your career to have a good understanding of English law, maritime English law, if you're working in any job in shipping. And so we have this first introductory module, and we look at these basics. So the sources of English commercial law, we look at contract law, we look at the basic torts, and we look at the relationship of agency, what liability may arise in agency. And then the first bullet point, we also, and I'm not going to labor this because you come along to the course, you'll find out what I mean, but what we mean by a common law jurisdiction and what we mean when we say that. And it really is a cultural expectation. And that is, as Martina said, the biggest shock to anybody coming from an outside jurisdiction or from a non-law jurisdiction. English law is a mishmash of cases that have developed the law really according to the reasonable expectations of commercial men at the time. And we have all of our teaching with that brushstroke, and we plunge straight into it, even during the induction welcome week. And then we start the first specific module. And this is always a very good starting point, international sale of goods. So your FOB CIF type of a sale and how they are financed and supported by financing mechanisms in trade. So that is like a little circle, and I think most of you can see that. That's the first circle. Could I have the next slide, please? You cannot have an international sale contract without it being wedded to a carriage of goods by sea contract, because the element that makes it an international sale contract is the shipment arrangements. It's the obligation in the sale contract that either the buyer or the seller fixes the carriage of goods by sea. And so we move seamlessly into carriage of goods by sea. Of course, you can have a carriage of goods by sea contract without any underlying wedded related sale contract. So we look at these contracts in their sort of autonomous state, but we've already got a good understanding from the first module of this matrix of international trade. And we look at bills of lading contracts and charter parties, and very much the role of bills of lading altogether in international trade. And then we move on to Admiralty and marine insurance. So we look at what is called Admiralty or shipping law. It's the wet law side. It's what happens to the vessel, sort of thing that Ian will be investigating. So collision damage, whether or not there needs to be salvage, is there a towage contract, wreck removal? We look at all of those. And critically, in this module, we look at what is called the in rem action. How, for a private law claim, for your breach of the carriage contract, how you might bring a claim against the vessel, and the commercial impact of that, and where you might bring the claim, and how that impacts on the owner, and how it impacts on anybody in the chain of perhaps having chartered the vessel. And we are very lucky in this module. We're very lucky in all the modules, actually. There's no one module that's been authored by anybody better than another. The team was absolutely chosen by me with a great deal of thought and persuasion, as Ian, I know, will confirm. But Admiralty law is a difficult one. And it really does need somebody who's got thorough understanding of the law and a real interest in it, but also some experience of what it's like to be out there at sea. And we have our module author here, Jack Hatcher, who at the time I first met him was sort of, well, he was actually a student back in the day. And then he became a rising star, and he was the rising star when we validated the course, but I would think he's one of the big stars in the sky now. So we're very lucky. And we also do marine insurance, because of course insurance is bedrock of everything in shipping. And then we come on to what I call the icing on the cake. And the cake is excellent. And you can have a cake with no icing and really enjoy it. But here, this pulls everything into context: marine dispute management, you know, how about the claim, if we've arrested or maybe being arrested, how do we pull it all together? How does all that fit in the wider picture of claim management? And we have conflict of laws, which is what law governs this contract? Where is the claim going to be brought? Basic questions that are easy questions to ask, but complex questions to answer. And then we have the basics of dispute resolution. So mediation, arbitration, and litigation. Mediation is big now in maritime, big in maritime London, big in maritime Singapore. So we look at the importance of these three and the differences between these three forms of dispute resolution. And then we have the absolute final layer of icing on the cake, Ian's part of the module, managing and investigating marine casualties, which Ian has already talked about. Next slide, please. How are the we've got a poll here, and we've got a poll.
Yeah, essentially the poll is about, you know, from a distance learning perspective, do you think you would benefit from a 12-month course? And I mean, a lot of distance learning programs that we have, they have very little interaction with the course leaders or maybe sometimes with the alums as well, with your colleagues as well. So those two polls are basis, you know, that view in mind, that would you benefit from a well-structured 12-month course, and do you enjoy interaction with the course leader typically? Yep. Let me end the poll, and the results are not, you know, is on the expected line. Almost everyone who are saying they would benefit, and everyone would enjoy an interaction with the course leader, especially if, you know, the course leader is as charismatic as Susan is. So yes, of course.
How much longer have I got now? I don't seem to have a clock here.
Yeah, about 5 to 7 minutes probably, Susan.
That's perfect, thank you.
Over to you.
Shall I continue?
Please.
Thank you. Okay, how is it all? How does it work? Well, I think it's a symbiotic relationship. My sort of brother has the view that the harder you work, the luckier you get. And I think that is the case across the board. And the combination of you working hard as a student on the course and me working hard to guide and advise you, to my mind, is a winning combination. I am absolutely passionate about this area of law. Maybe I could be passionate about other areas of law. Who knows? I haven't really strayed into other areas, but I am passionate about it. I would actually intelligent, engaged with life, not to enjoy the commercial shipping cases, because they are a reflection of what is expected in the trade, how the courts how the courts push the law on to meet that. And it's a consideration of society and the history of society and where any one society has come from. So I think it's back to my sort of brother's maxim: the harder you work, the luckier you get. Each module is divided into parts, and each part has a topic handbook, extremely well written. We have a schedule for webinars. All the webinars are recorded, and the recording is uploaded onto the particular module page relevant tab. We have question and answer sessions. I've put here that we have 3 seminars. That is actually not quite true. We have a lot more than 3 in the first module, because I want to push people along, and I really want to be there to hold their hands in the first module. And I'm always happy to do extra seminars. It's sort of have grown because people are always asking me for extra seminars. And we have structured Q&A sessions. We never have a session where we just go along and look at our navels, so to speak. So I do throw the webinar open, but I've always got my questions that I want to raise and for us to discuss to get things going. The webinars are scheduled. And sometimes I know that people can't come and the webinar is recorded. And sometimes people say, can you do the same webinar twice? To which the answer is yes, but there's always a schedule. And there are exercises we do. We do a practice run coursework, and we discuss what are called the formative assessments. Every module has a formative assessment. It's not another coursework. It's some task that helps you build up your skills in the study of law. And we discuss all of those. And from time to time, if we're lucky enough, module authors come along and contribute to one or more of the exercises. It's a successful, it can be successfully studied if you're at sea. You can download all the materials. So if you've got no internet at a particular time, you can read through them, look at the guidance and advice, formative feedback, etc., to keep you going with your study. And perhaps it's a good moment to flag up that the study of law is actually about one thing. It's about reading and thinking and reading and thinking. And it's about reading and reading. And did I say it's about reading? Actually, you could study law successfully, holed up in solitary confinement in prison with a lamp and a series of books and a notepad and paper. You could study it very successfully. So everything that we have can be downloaded for you to study if you're in a no internet zone. And there are questions with thought-provoking exercises and guidance as how you should be thinking about them. So the webinars and these sessions for action are, again, so if you miss a webinar, fine, keep on with the reading, come back and listen to the recording, reach out to me, and I'm always there. I'm always there. Now people say, is it flexible? And people like this idea of flexible study, and in many ways it's flexible because you may or may not be able to come to the webinars, and they will be recorded. You can decide to study at 4 in the morning rather than at 10 in the morning when other people might be studying. So in that sense, it's flexible. So it's obviously much more flexible than back in the day when you had to go to lectures and that was the end of the story. But it's not flexible in terms of how it rolls along, because that would be to open the door, be a hostage to nobody getting anywhere. It would be a hostage, absolutely. So there is a schedule. Courseworks have to be submitted on time. The exam has to be taken on time, and it's well structured. It's a structured pace, but there is a pace and there is a schedule. Next slide, please. What are the benefits of the course? Well, as Ian has said, and he more or less took the words out of my mouth, it's essential to know about how claims work, and you know, to be able to talk the talk, walk the walk, know what your lawyer is talking about, know what the lawyer for the other side is talking about. And it enables you, as what I would say, is to put out your markers. So in other words, if somebody says, well, we're going to sue you, take a deep breath in to prepare as you would for Pilates, put out your markers and say, fine, what is your cause of action? In other words, what is the claim you're going to allege against us? And that's a real stopper for most people, because people are woolly and they talk about suing you, bringing a claim against you, and actually it's all sort of saber rattling. So the course immediately, and we start with that right from the beginning, it develops, and law is about this, your ability to develop critical analysis. In other words, to be able to come up with a persuasive argument. And I see that that was very low down on the reasons for doing a course on the poll, but it's the way you will develop your career. And law is excellent for that. There's often no argument, no law on your side, and you have to come up with an argument. And it has to be based on some analysis of case law. You can't just stand up in court and say, well, Your Honour, I think my client should win because my client is a much nicer person and clearly has justice on his or her side, because the court will say, well, this court's not interested in what you think, Miss Hawker. It's always an analysis of the law. And it's no good saying to your client, well, actually, I don't like this case because actually we've got nothing on our side. Your job is to get in there and find something to develop a critical analysis. And anybody who comes on the course will hear the story centered around a case called Coruscant and Bush in the tort of nuisance, which I call the girl with the boyfriend case, where a girl wanted an injunction to stop her boyfriend from harassing her. Harassment wasn't on the statute books at that, and there was nothing. The boy committed the tort of nuisance, and therefore she got the injunction. That is what any good quality course in law will do, and it's certainly what we do. Knowledge, yes, knowledge, but it's the tip of the iceberg, because of course the knowledge will change, but it's how to find it, and it's how to think about it and how to apply it. And as both Ian and Martina have said, oh, the word constrained essays and time constrained exams. I have students cry and say, oh, but Susan, it can't be done. To which I say, it can. Weep on, dear heart, weep on. The one thing I can promise you on this course is that you will cry. Did we do the poll, or shall we move on? Did we do the poll with this one?
Let's move on. I guess we are running low on time. Let's move on. Next slide, Pratik.
Oh, sorry. So why this course? Well, I think Ian has sort of graciously touched on this, and I'm going to let Captain Thomas come in and speak. It sounds, you know, over self-congratulatory to say, well, come on this course because it's my course and I run it. But to my mind, that is the reality. I haven't developed a traditional academic profile in researching and writing for academic journals. I've cut my teeth and developed my career out in the trade. And the one thing I know is about shipping and trade practice. And when people say to me, I cut my teeth on bunker brokers, and if you can survive bunker brokers, think the Vikings coming. If you can survive bunker brokers, you can survive most things in life, in my view. When people say to me, but that's not how it goes on in real life, I say, no, real life is the big bit of the iceberg beneath the water level. Long may we all stay there. But if you do have to go to dispute resolution, you have to come above the water level of the iceberg, that small bit, then you're going to need my way of thinking and the principles that I talk about. So it's not for me to tell you you're wrong. It's for me to say you may be earning the dollar, doing brilliantly beneath the water level of the iceberg, but you've got to know how to survive, how to breathe above the water level of the iceberg. And it's very much, I will direct anyone coming on the course to read Lord Devlin, who when he first became a judge wrote Commercial Law and Commercial Practice back in 1957. And it's as true today as it was then. It's the culture, it's the way of thinking. It's about commercial law and commercial practice going hand in hand. And Lord Stein, when he was in the commercial court as in the Court of Appeal as Lord Justice Stein, said that it's a feature of the common law that it should meet the reasonable expectations of honest commercial men. And this is a way of thinking. We cannot teach you this. I cannot put the PowerPoint up or give you the handout on how to think, but I can certainly guide you. And I do think that there is nobody better. I probably think there's nobody as good as I am at this, but that would be over self-congratulatory. So I would say there's nobody better. I would say there is no better course. Personally, I would say this is the only course to do for distance learning. It's the only course. We really know at Solent, we really know what your working life is like. The university is dedicated to supporting students. And I really know what your working life is like. And I really know what you need. And I will really guide you into understanding that you do need that, really. Next slide, please. And this is about the end. So I'm just going to say before I mean, this is my team, my brilliant team. Everybody on this team was selected with a lot of thought. And everybody was, as Ian will tell you, smiling, everybody was persuaded to come and join me because I wanted these people. And really that was the end of the story as far as I was concerned. And as Filippo Lorenzen, who is an Italian lawyer, and I knew Filippo back in the day, even before he was a professor of law at Southampton University, as Filippo will say, well, Susan came along with a big smile and I knew that I had to say yes. And actually Ian will endorse that. This is my team. Everybody on the team either has extensive shipping law legal practice and or having been at sea. Baris Soye, I'm going to flag him up. Baris Soye is now professor and director of the Institute of Shipping and Trade Law at Swansea University, the Maritime Law Institute, actually to where Paul is going after this course, with my support and a reference and my blessing. To my mind, currently there are only 2 courses internationally really that will bring anybody in the trade what they need to know about maritime and shipping law. One is the LLM at Swansea University, which is a full-time course which doesn't have an English law skills module. It's a full start as you mean to go on postgraduate law degree. For anybody wanting a full-time law student experience, this is undoubtedly the course to go on. And I think the LLM at Swansea currently is better than at Southampton. Baris, we're very lucky to have Baris because he's internationally renowned in marine insurance. He is able to contribute to our course because our course doesn't conflict. He sends students who don't want the full-time postgraduate experience to me, people who are working, and I send people like Paul. Paul wanted to take a break. He's at a stage when he can do that and go off and have the student experience. And so this is a relationship that works very well. If you don't want or can't have, not at the stage of life or finances to have a full-time law experience, then in my opinion, my course is the best. And I say it's my course because I put it together. And obviously it's not just my course and I'm only one small part of it, but it It is
You broke off a bit, Susan, but I guess
Oh.
she probably would have said the next slide.
Am I back?
Yeah, you are. You're back. You froze up for a while.
Oh, and the LLM top-up, which Captain Thomas is now doing. It's a one semester program, starts in April, ends at the end of September. It's a research skills component, which is causing at the moment students to cry, but that is part of the course. And then it's a 12,000 word dissertation. And it's for anybody who wants to develop their skills of research and contributing to the debate. It's the next step on, because that's what a dissertation does. It doesn't give a critical response to a question set for you. You have to find the topic, you have to find the debate, you have to then contribute to the debate. And that's what the LLM top-up is. And I think at that stage, because I think the rest of what I'm saying is really just a bit about the university, and I think then I hand back over to Gaurav. I think I could hand over at this point to Captain Thomas.
Hi, good evening, gentlemen and ladies and gentlemen. I'm Captain Thomas. I'm here with you from Hong Kong. I work with Chalaram Shipping at the moment, and I'm basically a QHSC Marine Superintendent, but also having responsibilities in the ship operations, and also a part of the post operations team in the chartering with Chalaram. And I don't know if you know about Chalaram. We are an ownership management company. We own and manage our own ships. We have about 20 bulk carriers, and we have a chartering department, operations department, all in-house. And I know Susan since 2020. That's when I started my journey with Susan and Solent for the PGD. And as Martina said, this course is very challenging. You know, if you don't have the time, I would say don't come for this course. You have to really dedicate at least 2 hours in a day. And you got to sacrifice your weekends, your social life for 1 year. I mean, it's maybe you can do it without that as well, but be prepared for all this. It's a well-structured course over the period of 12 months. It's been structured perfectly for all working professionals. You get enough time provided you do it step by step. You do your courseworks in time, assignments on time, then you're on the goal. No problems. And moreover, I started this course after I broke up with WMU. I was enrolled for my postgraduate diploma in marine insurance with WMU, World Maritime University. I had to discontinue that course due to some personal issues, but also I was not very happy about that course, because that was basically, they would dump all the materials to you, and there was no one-on-one, or there was no classroom sessions, no webinars, nothing. And their support was very poor, for me at least. So I don't know if anybody else is done with them and you're happy. But I could not access the library for the first 3 months, where the first module had already finished. And then as I said, I had to discontinue due to my personal issues. But then I was coming back to attend a course, and I was on the lookout what to do, when to do, where to do. That's when I came across Gaurav, and he introduced me to this course, and he said there's something happening in Solent. Then I got in touch with Susan. I got in touch with the head of the school, Mr. Kunal. And then I thought so that this would be an ideal place to be. I started off in 2020, and I can say that Susan is a pillar, and she is there with you throughout the 12 months. You have a problem, text her, mail her. You have a students portal in the university website, send her. You get a reply in about 8 to 10 hours. At least she will say that, okay, I'm not able to answer you right now. Maybe I'll get back in another 12 hours. Give me a day. embassy with something else, but you are definitely going to get a reply from Susan. So she's there. I know you feel low, she is there. You feel high, she is there to support you. So that's, I mean, the amount of energy Susan has is commendable at this time. So, and moreover, as I said, I was a sailing master. I had a sea service of about 23 years before I stepped ashore in 2018, and now it's been 4 years. I was sailing all the while without much knowledge on maritime law.
Is it just me, or can any of you hear Captain Thomas?
No, I think it does keep freezing.
No.
Okay. I see he is still there, but probably his screen has frozen. All right. Pratik, if you can just share the slide, and what we'll do is we'll have a quick one last slide about how you can go ahead for the course. How can CN Beyond support you? And I'm hoping in the meanwhile, Captain Thomas should be back. So
I'll text him and tell him. I'll text him and tell him. Okay.
sure.
Okay. Well, I have actually. Sorry.
Yeah, Pratik, yep, I'm assuming, Susan, if we can just take the last slide, or would you want to go through the remaining slides as well?
I think we can just take the last slide.
Yeah. Go on,
Yeah,
Pratik.
because really, this is what Solent does, Warsash does, and the reason I have the picture of the world map, I think the world is amazing, and it's incredible, really, that we've got Captain Thomas in Hong Kong, and we've got Ian in Singapore, and I'm actually here in Hamburg, hoping to meet Paul tomorrow for coffee. And it's amazing that wherever you are, to think if you're on my course, it's like I'm your academic mummy, and I will be there to support you wherever. I love that. I love that. I love that. That's all I wanted to say.
Sure.
Oh, Captain Thomas is back.
Yeah.
Hello, Thomas?
Yeah, I think is.
Gaurav, I'm sorry I got disconnected. I don't know for what reason, but
No.
am I audible now?
Yeah,
You're back. Yes.
Please.
Yeah. Okay. So as I was saying, this course is well structured, and you will enjoy this course. And compared to, I mean, I've compared some other courses, but I feel this is better. And especially when if you're working ashore, this is very important. It's very important to know a little bit of the maritime law, especially for dealing with charterers. And as rightly Martina said, being a part of the post-ops team, I'm able to put in things together when there is a claim without involving a lawyer, so that our organization can save some money. As you know, the maritime lawyers charge a bomb. And I finished my post-graduation with a distinction. And now after that, I enrolled for the LLM. Now, towards the last part of the LLM now the 2 to 3 months, we'll finish the LLM as well. And yes, I'm available if you guys need any help after the webinar. You can always contact me. I can contribute whatever you want. That's all, Gaurav. Anything more?
I think it might be worth adding. The big picture is what you come out with. It's a learning process, and you come out with a skill set and knowledge that are invaluable and will carry you through. That there may be tears on the way, and I'm always there to sort of, you know, modern terminology, hold you, help you if you're crying, but it's what you come out with. And, you know, I'm so happy to hear Captain Thomas say, well, I came out with a distinction, because it was hard going, wasn't it, at times? Not just for
Yes,
you,
it was.
but I mean, it was hard going. And I think Captain Thomas never quite got, I don't think even now on the LLM top up, I don't think he's ever quite taken on board that actually he is no longer the captain. I am the captain of this ship. And there's an infamous time when he rang me up and said to me, you are a dreadful woman and you made me cry. And I said, but I'm in charge. And there's another infamous time when Ian was a student and he said to me, if you were on my ship, I'd make you walk the plank. But it's what you come out with. It's what you come out with. And I have to say, it is right, isn't it, Thomas? I am always there.
Yes, yes. I mean, recently I had to do a bit of a project for the office, and I found this, the background of the PGD was very helpful, and you know, that saved quite a lot of money, as I said, instead of rather than giving it out to the lawyer. If you know, since I could do it, I had I did that for us, for the office. I mean, yeah.
Thank you, Thomas.
Thanks. Thank you, Captain Thomas, and thank you so much, Susan. You know, the way you described the course, each and every module, explaining it in detail, explaining why you know, this is the course to go for if you are planning to do a distance learning course, and how will a person be able to add value to himself or herself by essentially doing this course. So what I'll do is, those who are interested for this course, I'll just give a brief process of enrollment for the course, and how C and Beyond could help. In the meanwhile, if anyone has any questions, you can also put it down on the chat window. But essentially, if you are interested, the course enrollment ends in about a month's time. So about end of September, or probably third week of September, you have to finish your enrollment at the max. Then for the enrollment, you essentially have to go to the portal, fill in all the information. You also need to do Duolingo or an English proficiency test. We can advise you which one is better and how do you go about doing which English proficiency test is best for you. You pay a fees of 50% of the fees, which will be about £4,000, and then you will get a student ID, and then you enroll, and then you essentially start with the course. So that's the process. It takes about 15 days for you to, at least 15 days, sometimes more as well. Nowadays, the university is much more efficient than what it was a couple of years back. So about 15 days, you should be able to get yourself through. Pratik, if you can put in that slide, how would C and Beyond help? Where do we come in terms of when you are applying for the course? How do you apply? What kind of recommendation you should be putting? How you should be uploading that recommendation? What kind of English proficiency test should you be doing? And from where you should be doing that? That's where we come in for help. In terms of this is a distance learning course, so visa staying is not much of a concern. But in case you are in India and you need a loan, or if you need remittance, forex remittance, because doing it through a bank is fairly costly. So there are other medium that where you could use to do the forex remittance. That's where we could assist you as well. Yeah. So that's pretty much it from our side. I'll have a couple of polls now, and everyone, and Pratik, you can stop sharing the presentation. So let me have a couple of polls now. And to everyone, you can possibly write in your queries in the chat window as well. So the two questions, the two poll questions, how many of you would be interested to do this course? Yes, no, or you need some time to decide. And if you are planning to do this course, are you planning to do it this year or the next year? If this year, it's essentially another 3 weeks time or so. And of course, you can do it next year as well. Right. So, right. So I'm just reading through the chat. Vijay is asking the name of the book which Susan, you recommended.
Yes, I saw that. Actually, no, I didn't recommend a book. I recommended an article that is on one of the top flight academic journals. It's on the Modern Law Review, and it's an article Lord Dev.
Susan, I guess, yeah.
Sharing, and it's copyright, so I'm not able to share that other than in a university capacity, and the journal is only available for, you know, it's a subscribed to journal, and your law firm, even your law firm wouldn't subscribe to it because it's general law. So you would have to come on the course. You would have to come on the course to get that. And the other reference was to a case. Now the case is freely available, so there are no copyright issues, and I would be happy to share that. It's the Lord Stein, as he was in the Court of Appeal, Lord Justice Stein, and he said it is a feature of the common law that it give effect to the reasonable expectations of honest commercial shipping men, and it is actually a chartering broking case. I would share it if anybody would like it. Please email me. Gaurav, you have my email address. I would counsel caution. Reading cases is an uphill struggle unless you've got proper guidance. So I personally think you should take the PowerPoint slide and know that Devlin said commercial law should go hand in hand with commercial practice, and that Stein said commercial law should give effect to the reasonable expectations of commercial men. And I think you should leave it at that until you come on the law course, personally.
Sure. All right, so what we'll do is once you share that case with us, to the persons who are interested, we can share the link to them.
Well, I'll send it to you, but
Yeah.
I do give that, you know, sort of warning with it. Don't read the case and be off put. If you start reading the case and find it a struggle, abandon, because reading cases is a skill, and if you haven't got someone to guide you, it's terrible. It's terrible, and it can put you off.
Okay, right. So the Captain Gurjeet would like to connect to Captain Thomas. Captain Gurjeet, I know you, I know Thomas, so I'll connect you, you know, after this webinar, both of you. Somnath is asking on an advice on job prospects, location of job, and wages. Not sure, Susan, Thomas, would you like to comment on the job prospects after the course?
Yeah, I mean, I can do it right now. I mean, you know, the job prospects, I wouldn't say that you do this course and you get a job. It's more an enhancement of the knowledge, and it is more value added to the job or the position what you're holding now. I mean, I think I've answered that.
Yeah, I would say exactly that. It enhances your knowledge, and therefore it enhances you. And you know, it's like everything else in life. What do you do to develop yourself and enhance yourself so that you can present yourself with a range of skills and also evidence of the effort? And that's, you know, nobody does a course like this and successfully passes it without having been enormously disciplined and very good at time management. and having developed an ability to write succinctly and sensibly. Well, they're skills that are very important across the board. But you don't get the diploma, get the job, so to speak. It doesn't work like that in life.
And as far as the location of the job, English law is the backbone for international trade. So, I mean, it doesn't matter where you are in India, UK, Hong Kong, Singapore, you can work from anywhere.
Yeah.
I think one thing which a few persons do get confused and which I might like to clarify, and correct me if I'm wrong, Susan and Thomas, that while this course sounds to be like or it is a maritime law course, it's not designed for persons to essentially practice law after doing this course, right?
Well, it depends what you mean, but the short answer would be no. Any course in law will help you in developing the range you will need.
Susan is frozen again.
Yeah, maybe you can continue.
Yes, it doesn't allow you to practice law. I mean, if you're a law practitioner like the LLB holder, then this would help. You could practice. I mean, then maritime law to add to your LLB skill is very nice.
Absolutely. And then, and like what you had said and what Martina said, that you would be able to help your company in various other ways.
Exactly.
After doing this course, yeah, makes sense.
And at least, I mean, when you're reading your charter parties, when you're handling with the charters, you will, you'll get a better grip on what they're talking about rather than, you just, without knowing anything, you will be totally lost. When there's a mail coming in from the charters, because as everyone knows, the charters defend not to pay. And, if we have to counter, we know what we are speaking and what to counter and how to counter it with an email and, how to draft your mail. That's a skill set what Susan was talking about.
Yeah. Okay.
Susan, you're muted.
Sorry. My internet went down. That's absolutely right. It is, as I said on the slides, it's like, you take a breath in to prepare. It allows you to see the wood for the tree, so to speak, but it's not a practicing qualification course. They're quite different. Mm.
Thanks. The Saurabh has messaged me directly. He's directly messaged me a question, or it's probably a comment that if we can have someone on the webinar who's actively sailing and who's gone through this course, to have him on the webinar. But I mean, with Thomas, we had 3 persons who were actively sailing, 2 from the marine engineering side, and one a chief officer who's probably become a master now. And unfortunately, we couldn't get them on the webinar. But maybe if you could, share their experience, either you, Thomas, or Susan, how are they placed now? How did they feel about the course? I think 2 of them are also doing LLM, the LLM.
Yeah. Well, one has had to postpone. Actually, he's had to defer because his vessel was off. In the Gulf somewhere, and they were just drifting along. They had engine difficulties, and they also had a cargo that suddenly went out of fashion and nobody would buy it, and he was really struggling. So he's deferred for a year. The other student is plodding along nicely. He's amazing, the other student. The other student did the PGD and managed to have 2 children along the way. Well, rather, his wife had 2 children along the way. And he managed to be at sea, have 2 children, and do the PGD. Phenomenal. And now he's gone on to do the LLM top-up. He's just determined to do it. And very well organized. And I think, you have to be. But they are very basic skills that you either develop those skills or you don't pass the course. It's nothing to do with the knowledge, it's the bigger picture. But they are skills that you need when you're in a working environment. And I once asked a group of undergraduates, why do you think people with PhDs find it easier than other people to get jobs? To which the undergraduate said, oh, because they're so clever. So I said, no, you don't have to be any brighter than anybody else to do a PhD. You have to be committed, and you have to be thorough, and you have to be able to keep going and going and going. And you have to be able to keep going and be super well organized in a very, very lonely environment, because it's you and your PhD. And one of the reasons universities are very circumspect about who they take on board to do a PhD is because universities don't want to have loads of students starting and then dropping out, because it is a lonely, hard work process. But if you've got that, you can show skills that are relevant. And the PGDip is like that. Any distance learning course is like that, particularly a structured one. In other words, one that has set dates for assessments. I have a young nephew who is 16, who's thinking of changing his life a bit, and he is going to go to work full time and do some further education by distance learning. And he said, oh, I think, it would be a good idea if I had a flexible course where I could do my assessments when I wanted. I said, no, it wouldn't be. That's absolutely not true. First of all, because you will never get your assessments done. None of us ever has time for anything. And so you have to make time, and you make time if you feel the axe on your neck. And I said, and also it doesn't show to any employer, anyone you're going to in the next phase of your life. It doesn't show that you've got those skills. So no, it's not good to go on something, that is airy-fairy, wishy-washy, that sort of brother would say. That's what, and I do think that. I do think that.
And as Susan said, that axe is currently on my neck now.
Oh, it is, Captain Thomas.
And
And I give you the magic phrase, dear heart. This is not a democracy.
Right.
And I know that when they were on the PGDip, I know that they used to get on their little group WhatsApp and they used to gang up. And I know this because one of the students actually was living at the time. This is Max Henri, Captain Thomas. He was living down the road with me, from me. And he and his girlfriend, who are getting married in 3 weeks, and I'm going to the wedding, they moved in down the road, had a baby, had a dog. Well, they'd already got the dog. And Max Henri used to walk the baby in the mornings to give Andrea a break and walk the baby around the park and along the river to the Thames barrier with the dog and the baby, and walk around and have coffee with me. So he'd always spill the beans on what they were trying to negotiate. And he'd say to me, and I told Captain Thomas, there's no point in asking her for that because she won't give it to you. So I know they gang up on me.
Yeah.
And Captain Thomas, he has the guillotine hanging over his neck, and he still thinks he's in charge.
Right. We've got one final question from Arun Kumar, who's saying that, I mean, he's a marine engineer. He's done HND from Scotland.
Yes, he put a comment on, yes.
Yeah, but still you have to do the English test, which I did. I had my master's COC from the UK, and still I had to go through it.
Yeah.
So, but essentially, whatever qualifications you have, Arun, you are absolutely eligible. Only thing is,
Yes.
you have to probably, sit in for about 3-4 days of little bit of preparation for the English proficiency test.
And there's no preparation required, Gaurav. If you're going to take the Duolingo, it's just one mock test, and then you're in. I mean, having it's not a rocket science at all.
Yeah, it's not. It's just that a couple of persons had to give it twice. So I'm just giving a word of caution that they didn't score the minimum marks. So that's why. So maybe a 1 or 2 days or whatever, maybe 3 hours of work on the English proficiency test should be enough whenever you are able to do that. So Arun Kumar, you have IELTS 6.0 I think the requirement.
I think that's enough. I think
Yeah.
5.5 is the band.
It's 5.5 or 6. Okay, so I think 6 qualifies you for.
Yes, yes.
for
I'm
enrollment.
definitely sure he's qualified if he's got a 6.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So, right. I think that's pretty much it on the Q&A. One question which Yogesh has asked personally to me is that flexibility in terms of fees payment. There is, but you have to give a 50% fees upfront for enrollment. After that, the second tranche, I guess, can come after 3 months as well. University is a little bit flexible in terms of the second, third installment of fees. Correct me if I'm wrong, Captain Thomas.
Yeah, it's total 3, 50% first, and then I think then you get 2 or 3 more. I'm not sure about it now. Don't remember it.
Yeah,
I think that's right. I have to say I'm not particularly involved with that side of the university, but it's normal in UK universities. It's rather like the English proficiency test. It is a requirement unless you come from a country where your first language is recognized to be English, and it's just a government requirement. It's to do with government's concern about funding and about the type of students universities will take on board, and the fees are part of that government requirement structure.
all right. Thanks.
And I flagged that up because it's not the university being difficult. It's just, one of those things.
Right. So I guess that's pretty much it. We have gone through all the questions that everyone has put. Let me just have one last poll on the feedback about the webinar. Here's the poll on your screen. Poll is about, were your expectations met? Was the session useful? And how would you rate the session in terms of average, good, or excellent? If you have any improvement points for us, feel free to put it in the chat window as well, and we'll try and improve upon that as well. And look forward to have you guys with Susan in the coming months, in the coming year batch as well.
Yes, I'm happy, Grav, if anybody wants to share detail, contact details with me, but I have to flag up 2 things. I cannot advise on other courses, so there is no point in coming to me because it would not be appropriate within my job for me to advise within the university capacity for me to advise on any other courses. And the other thing I cannot advise on is job prospects and money, because it's job prospects and what you get are always about how you present yourself, and Captain Thomas will confirm that. We all know that everybody could start off with the same qualification, and some people will do better than others because some people are harder working, some people do better, some people are better organized, and some people present themselves better. So it's no good asking me about that.